Never before have we had greater face a complex, rapidly changing world. Think of it a moment.
It is a world in which supersonic speeds are commonplace. It is a world that has seen the coming of the atomic bomb. It has seen the rise of the total state, the dictator, and the mass man. It is a world of new sensations, new excitements, new distractions.
So much to be learned by so many in so little time.
And I suppose you're here with no agenda, as per usual?
On the contrary, I'm here for comics. What kind of man are you anyway? I'm talking comics and you bring up chicks and romance?
Oh, it is Thursday night. Is Mav's microphone working? It is. Guys, how is it going? Like I said, it is Thursday night. It is time for Foil Variant. You guys might notice I am without my wonderful, informative, handsome, talented, keeps me on track co-host Andrew Rodriguez. This week is out enjoying some time with his lady, with Mary. So for this week, you have me. You have a solo stream. Like I said last week, guys, I know we've been spotty over the beginning of this year, but going forward after that New 52 retrospective, we want to be more, dedicated, more just here for you guys, expand this thing out, really put our effort into that. So that being said, instead of taking a week off, as I easily could have, I figured why not go live? There are still some comic book releases we can talk about this week. There's also just some, we've missed a couple weeks worth of stuff. I know there's a lot of big news. There's also, I'm sure there's lots of just comic book talk in general we can have. And if worse comes to worse, if you guys remember, the original plan of all of these Mav solo streams was to stream comic book related video games whenever Andrew wasn't around. So if we run into a spot where we've got nothing to talk about, where we just go, what do we do now? We will hop on over to Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. I know we started that off, like a year ago? Never got that far because we only did one solo stream, but I figured, hey, we've got more of a hang of this over here. I've got more of a hang of this over here. Maybe it'll go off without a hitch and we can play. Yeah. What am I trying to say? Sorry, I got a little distracted there because guess what? It's boiling in Arizona and it is boiling in this very room where we are streaming to you all. But my rambling aside, let's get into, various things to talk about. Obviously, we have, if you guys caught the thumbnail, there is a new one-shot that came out this week, Web of Venom. Actually, surprisingly really fun. I think we might want to talk about that. We could talk about Death Spiral. We could go really spider-related this evening and just hit all that because there have been developments. But like I said, it's a free-for-all. Let's jump into things. I don't know. I don't really have a good setup for when I'm alone. This is why we need Andrew here, right? This is where Andrew goes, I've been good. Let's talk some comic books. You're just rambling. But before we get into any of that, let us say hello to, we've only got one homie so far, one friend. Masta, how are you doing? He says, very late compared to usual. Yep. I know we're about, 2 to 3 hours late at this point. That is because with Andrew not being here this week and with me having slept super shittily last night, I decided we're going to have the stream still, but I'm going to take a beat to rest, take a nap, all that fun stuff so that, we could hang out and enjoy ourselves instead of stressing the hell out. So still a little late, but we're still going to go for the full time. We've still got stuff to talk about. Let's get into it. Masta says, is the Mav name based on a space thing, by the way? No. So, little lore drop for all of you out there. My name it's unsurprisingly Mega Man related. I started out on the internet years and years ago with a name that basically Maverick Zero X, right? very, very generic. I know that there were like 40 other accounts with the same name, but you know, Maverick from the Mega Man X series, those are the bad guys. And then obviously you have the heroes Zero and X. As a 10-year-old, sounds really cool, right? Like the rogue versions of the heroes. Wa cha cha cha. Your whatchamacallit? Just like your edgy boy version. I don't know. You know, guys know what I'm saying. So over the years, Maverick Zero X became Maverick Zero. Maverick Zero became Mav Zero. And then, yeah, just as time went on, things got truncated. And now you have me here. Mav. Very, very easy to remember. M-A-V. And yeah, that's what it's been ever since. So let's see. All right. Let's get into some comic book talk because I realized last week, guys, I know Andrew and I went through our New 52 retrospective, and that was a lot of fun. We went back, and in case you haven't watched that episode, I would recommend going back and checking it out. We spent last week's episode looking back for the 15, you know, it's been 15 years since DC decided they wanted to completely, you know, upheave everything, reboot everything, try something new. Andrew and I said, hey, why not? We were alive during that time. Let's take a look back. Let's see what they got right, what they didn't. We went through a lot of stuff there. We mainly focused on the Trinity because, like I said last week, there are 52 books that they released, and most of them, guys, were really, really, really middling. You can admire them for a lot of what they tried to do, you know, with things like Men at War or All-Star Western, which All-Star Western was really good, you know, characters like Captain Atom or a revival of the Justice League International. They really, really tried, but not everything was a big success. Not a lot of it was worth the fanfare. So Andrew and I stuck with, obviously, the Trinity. However, as we went through all that, as we were trying to keep it really, really tight so as to not, you know, just go into general discussion of the entire canon continuity right now of the DCU, I realized after, you know, getting off the stream last week, I messaged Andrew and I said, dude, we forgot something pretty major to discuss about the whole 52 thing. And pardon me, a burp and a voice crack. That's just fantastic, ain't it? So let me make sure the solo setup works properly and we don't, you know, bonk things. Okay, that looks like it is good. Bum, bum, bum. All right. So, one of the big things that we did not mention last week when we were discussing the New 52 was a little plot development that DC tried to push on us. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to readjust everything to make sure it looks nice and spiffy for us. All right. Let's jump over to the comic book side. Do you guys remember, or some of you might not remember, some of you may remember, but there was a big element that DC was pushing in the New 52 called the Trinity of Sin. As you see here, this was the leader of the Trinity of Sin, a brand new character named Pandora, who, you know, she was what it says on the tin. She was the one who first opened the box and let all the evil and all the sins out into the world. And she was the one who was like, I'm going to set things right. I got to yada, yada, yada. She was sort of the catalyst figure for all of the New 52. Now, obviously, I'm saying a Trinity of Sin because DC decided to loop in the Phantom Stranger and the Question into this weird mythological like element of the DCU. So the Phantom Stranger, if you guys don't remember, he used to just be a very mysterious entity. He is said to have lived forever, and he just sort of has like supernatural powers. He's very much the folklore phantom of like the American West, those kind of things. Like he shows up, ekes out justice. You don't really know who he is. He vanishes into the night. He's not a human. He has yada, yada, yada. And obviously we know the Question. Vic Sage, just a very, very over-the-top conspiracy nut who digs deep into the story and finds, you know, the answers he's always looking for. The basis for Rorschach over in Watchmen. And yeah, a pretty pivotal player over here in DC since forever, right? Like there is that Justice League episode, Date Night, right? Where it's him and Huntress, and everybody loves that episode. And then he played a pretty cool role in the overarching narrative of Batman Brave and the Bold when they were fighting like Equinox and stuff. So if you've, sampled some DC media in recent years, you've probably run into Vic Sage or even Renee Montoya. His successor, 52. Don't get me started on the 52 fanboyism, right? So that obviously kind of like pulpy stuff. The question was based on, Steve Ditko's Mr. A over there for Charlton Comics and all that fun stuff. That's where Rorschach came from, yada, 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 yada. I don't know why I'm yada, yada, yada-ing so much, but, yeah, so originally, Phantom Stranger and The Question are very much just your pulpy sort of comic book characters, right? Like, ooh, mystery, phantasms, and then, like I said, pulp detective action. Or, yeah, pulp detective, mystery, that kind of stuff. With the new 52, they took two really weird swings with their characters. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, before we even get into it, like, I was not a fan of either of these changes for them. So for The Question, what was he? I believe he became like, let me look this up specifically, because now I don't want to give you guys the wrong impression. What was he? We go bump, bump, bump. And 2011, pre-Flashpoint. That's what he was. That's right. He was an old school Greek mythological figure. He was Narcissus, not a real obviously not like a real person, but like the mythological figure, right? The guy who was so vain, he was so pompous about himself that God casts him down, the gods cast him out, and they take away his identity. That is the question that he's always trying to answer, right? And then the Phantom Stranger became Judas Iscariot, right? From the Bible. They revealed his whole thing was trying to redeem the 20, 30 pieces of silver that he sold out Jesus for. And it, like I said, they were swings, and they try. Like, I can give DC credit for trying something. I just don't know if they pulled it off, right? Especially with the Phantom Stranger, because one really, I wouldn't say dangerous, but precarious thing in comic books, in fiction, about using like real world religious figures, right? Or canonizing any of that, if you will, is that you now have to put that on your power scale. That all of the stuff, and here, I'm not even getting into my whole, I don't like religion, I'm an agnostic and all that sort of stuff. I'm just talking like literarily, scholarly. If you go and you say all of that stuff in the Bible is true, like every story as written as we study it is completely true, that's an insane power scale that we now have to deal with. And then it also opens up questions like, where is God versus when Darkseid takes over the earth? How come, we never see Jesus hanging out in the multiverse? It's things like that. It just makes it really, really awkward. One of the best examples of this, and it kind of sucks because it's my favorite example of this, is the Spectre. The Spectre, whoa, oh God, something just got in my eye. Wow. Big old white ghost, little green thong, little green cloak, was Hal Jordan, was Christmas Allen. He is the literal like vengeance of the Christian God, right? And he's for all intents and purposes, he's one of, if not the most powerful things in the DC pantheon. But how do you square that with things, right? Because then you go, okay, he's the most powerful thing. There's the Christian God. Well, we have the Greek God. We have Themyscira. We have versions of like Thor. We have the what's his name? Thunderer, like the Aboriginal version of Thor, right? You have all these other myths and religions and stories that you have to take into account. So sometimes you can pull that off. Other time, like I said, it's a very, very thin line. One of my favorite examples of how they use the Spectre right. And I know if Andrew was here, he'd say it's one of his favorite moments. But it was from the, gosh, which run was it? Was it Williamson on Flash? Whoever was before Spurrier, right? There's an issue where the Flash teams up with the Spectre, and at the very end, like Wally teams up with the Spectre, and at the very end, the Spectre goes like, "Oh, and by the way, like, thank you for your help, da-dum. By the way," he like says like he's really happy with like he says like, "Good job," and Wally just goes like, do you mean?" And then the Spectre vanishes, and it's like, that's pretty good. That's a good way to say like he's part of the religion. That religion is active. It's canon. But again, it's once you start going like he's the most powerful thing. Now we get into the power scaling, and that's where it all starts falling apart. So I just wanted to bring this up because they really thought this whole Trinity of Sin thing was going to be a giant backbone of the New 52, to the extent, guys, that if each issue of every New 52 book, except for Earth 2, because that's in a different universe, every first issue of the New 52 has a cameo of Pandora in the background. And they really thought like this was going to be the whole linking thing. Yes, she does play some roles in like the Dark Side War and Grail and all that, but none of it made a lasting impression, right? Here's a question for you guys. When was the last time you saw Pandora? The question is like 2011, because right before Rebirth started, they had Dr. Manhattan like blink her out of existence. She was the first person in the DCU. She like is running from him, turns around and is like, "You won't get away with changing the universe." And he just blue wave of energy, and we've never seen her since. And we really don't talk about the Narcissus or the Judas Iscariot of it all. You know, even as I'm saying this stuff, it's like work with me here, guys. What connects all, like, what would make these guys a Trinity? In the narrative, the Trinity was basically just like, you're the Trinity of Sin. You all defied the gods and everything we put down for rules. You know, you opened the box. You said you were better than us. You handed Jesus over to the Romans. Okay. But like, why not put Cain there? Why not put Abel? Why not put, you know, a whole host of other, like what's his name? Icarus. You can put him there. There's so many other ones you can put that like fit that criteria, that you then go, okay, well, what unites those three? And it's a smorgasbord, right? Like, the most unifying factor these three characters have is that the Phantom Stranger and the Question both rock fedoras in the proper way, and they don't look like, you know, jackasses. So I just wanted to bring that up because I felt like it was a very significant element of this entire thing that we did not talk about. Also, like, how aggressively just 2011 here, right? Or not 2011, where are we at this point? No, this is 2011, where like magic, dual wielding pistols against mythological creatures, it reeks of, you know, your Devil May Cry, your Percy Jackson. Not that like there's anything wrong with those things. I love Devil May Cry. It's just very like, you open this up and you go, oh, this is like, I know what era this was written in. Hey, whoa, Tex NCAP, whoa. This is actually, you know what? No, Tex NCAP says I haven't seen Pandora lately, but I've seen her box, and I was gonna say, whoa. This is a children's show, but it is later, and I have the new, you know, we're trying out all the new dark backgrounds here at Foil Variant, so it looks like we are at Foil Variant After Dark, right? So, that one slides. But that being said, Tex ANCAP, yeah, that's a pretty good comparison there. Tex ANCAP describes them as, you know, the Beyonder 2.0. And yes, but so much of less of an impact, right? Like, to me, I like to gauge a character, especially in Western comic books, by just how often do you see them? Do they pop up? Do people even reference them? Because here's the honest truth. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's been a discussion going around social media the last couple days about, hashtag like DC so white. And it's a whole sort of social media campaign to get DC to, in the literal sense, like diversify their line. Let me find this issue really quick. Let me buzz up my Pakistani dude and see if I can pull a more relevant thing for us to look at here, because I found this all really interesting, and I was talking about this with Andrew earlier. So we'll close that. What do we have up? Okay, good. I have this up. We have New History of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident. Let's zoom in so that we'll go Batman, we'll go Hardware, and we'll go Static on the cover here. So wow, I don't know why I got so loud and like assertive right there. So anyway, what I was saying is you guys might have seen this campaign going on, DC So White, and it's really talking about how DC's main titles it's not very diverse, right? Like, remember, this is foil variant, so we're putting on our intellectually honest comic book talk hats here. We're not going to be, trying to score culture war points or airing grievances. We're just going to be looking at the facts on the ground. And the facts on the ground are, I ask you guys, can you name a DC book starring a non-white character? Right? Now, the answer is surprisingly, at least off the top of my head right now, thinking about all my pull lists and everything, there are non-white characters in ensembles, right? Like Justice League United, Justice Society, Teen Titans. But I can't necessarily think of like a solo title that is being held by, a Steel, a Natasha Irons. I guess they're both technically Steel. And so, returning to the point at hand, I don't know, that's a really bad segue, but the honest truth here is that it is very, very weird that DC doesn't, or how do I want to frame this? Because I got to be very, very careful, because I don't want you guys to think I'm not like endorsing like, oh, there's no white characters, you have to be racist, yada, yada. That's not what's happening at all, right? I would say there is a very weird stigma of some sort that exists over at DC, because right here, this one shot came out earlier this year, the New History of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident. It folds in the milestone timeline, kind of explains where, if you guys remember a few years back, there was something called the Milestone Initiative, which was an attempt to revive the Milestone line that was, Black created, Black owned back in the 90s. Dwayne McDuffie, we all remember that. A couple years ago, they did the Milestone Initiative to try and bring these characters back, revive them, make sure, see if there was any interest in them. And there was, and then they were just gone again. There was even in DCKO, DC OK, if you will, there was a one shot where a bunch of teenage characters sort of assemble, come together, and it had a bunch of those kids that came back with the JSA when they like redid time and everything, who were fine. I really only kind of like Judy Garrick, but that's only because she has a cute design. That line, but at the end, the team was like, all these teenagers were like, all right, everybody is gone fighting this tournament. Let's lend our let's do what we can here on Earth to be heroes. And the lead team was John Kent, Cassandra Cain, Batgirl, Yara Flores, Wonder Girl, who I personally like. I know Andrew can take or leave her, and Static Shock. Enter DCKO number 5, the immediate follow-up issue. All the kids are there, and you see a big splash shot, no Static, for no reason, right? And it's bizarre, because we know we know at the very, very least, right? Again, intellectually honest, putting our culture war hats away, Static Shock and Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle, at the very least, are two pretty popular characters for DC, right? Static's always been really popular ever since his cartoon aired, and Jaime, people latched onto Jaime. People really liked the tokusatsu, Bugman, Spider-Man type of thing that he had going on at the end of Infinite Crisis. And yet they don't put in the effort to put on creators and give like talented creators and give them freedom and let them cook, essentially. That milestone initiative that I brought up, it just can't, like, I just learned, and I think it's just coming out nowadays, right? That entire milestone initiative, Warner Brothers had to get, that was all like sponsored by a third party, like just some business company in Detroit. This is WB, right? Like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, Peacemaker, DCU, like we've got all this money, and yet for some reason we had to go out to a third party investor to get money like for an initiative just to like cover characters that people like. It's genuinely insane, right? So like yes, there is a DC So White, and this is, so now I'm gonna like link it all back because I know I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but my whole point of this is that whole DC So White thing. Yes, there's that little grain of truth I put to it, which is like, why won't you give like Static and Blue Beetle a series? And to me, I was talking with Andrew, that's not overt racism from WB. It's just genuine fucking stupidity, right? Like we all know, we all lived through the last 26 years or 20 years at least. We know how much WB or a big Hollywood company like that would love to get out ahead and go like, look, our Black heroes, our Latino heroes, and yet two right there that like everybody likes. The Static exceeds the, like, he doesn't involve himself in the culture war, and yet they won't do anything with it. And I was telling Andrew, it's not about race per se. It's about the fact that you aren't Batman, right? DC knows what sells for them, and Batman sells a zillion and 400 anything. You slap his ass on, soap, and that soap is going to fly off the shelves because 6-year-old kids are going to go gangbusters for it. I know I would have. I probably still would if it weren't for the fact that, like, they don't sell it at Costco in 2-packs, and that's more economical for my ass, right? You know what I mean? But bringing this all back in terms of Trinity or Trinity of Sin and Pandora, I measure your success as a DC character as to how often you're just mentioned, how much you stick around. And that, what I was saying to that is, how do I phrase this? With DC, or like with comic books, I always feel it's a little unfair to go like, oh, that character who they just introduced right away didn't immediately take off and he's not leading a 70-issue series. Terrible character. He's out of here. They missed the ball with that one, right? That's not really how comics operate, because most comics are always going to go Batman, right? Like they're going to go for their big sellers. Remember in the 90s when Spider-Man was in every book? Same with Batman, because they know that you put those guys in a book, everybody's going to, dig into it. So a good character it has staying power in the sense that new writers, as they get new stories or they get new assignments, they will pepper in, here's a cameo, or I'm doing an Avengers book, or I'm doing a Defenders, Justice League, Titans, whatever, freaking Young Avengers book. They'll add that character to the team, right? Like or every so often you will get a McFarlane toy line wave, right? And boom, there's a random character where you're like, oh, I totally forgot you existed, but hey, I do like you. For example, in my head, I'm thinking of the character Gravity from Marvel. Loved him, had a really good miniseries, had a significant effort was made at establishing him as a hero, never really grabbed everybody in the like gangbuster sales way that Marvel was hoping. So he kind of faded to the background, but they kept, every so often you see him popping up here and there. And that to me is like, That's a good character because it resonates to the point where a creator is going, I want to, like, I liked you enough. What can I do with you? Can I even just mention you? Or when McFarlane makes that toy line, it's because somewhere there's just that small pocket of people who go, I love that. I need a figure of that. Pandora. I again, like Tex was saying here, don't remember the last time I saw her. Genuinely don't know if she's ever made, like, here, let's look this up. I'm gonna see Pandora DC action figure. I'm guessing she got one. Okay, and if anybody here is a toy person, this is gonna be like, are you kidding me? Really? This is how, like, this is the one toy she got? Pardon me. Hold on. Let me make sure that I have the browser set up for just me and not me and Andrew. Okay, hold on. Duplicate. We're gonna take Andrew away because he's cool and he abandoned me to go have fun. Map box. Let's bring you down. Oh, speaking of that, let me finish readjusting this, my friend. Also, you guys all notice that I finally have the new 52 lines working back here. There's obviously a lot of dust going on. You guys can probably notice that just from the last couple streams. That's because I have a whole new revamp we're doing. We talked a little bit about it last week. So hopefully by the time Andrew lands back with me next week, we can have everything working and I won't seem as frazzled when we're trying to set all this up. But all right, studio mode off. But as speak of the angel, there is our girl Mary. She is saying hail. That actually might be Andrew, but yeah, abandoned you for his lady. He'll be back. You know what? If he doesn't, that's okay. I would understand. But that means 100% of this all goes to me now. And this entire foil variant entity, that's mine now. So watch out, Andrew. But to what I was saying before, this is the only figure Pandora has ever received, which was from that original New 52, like, Justice League line. There's no hero clicks. There's no nothing. There's no Funko Pops. So that's just the stamp I wanted to put on. DC tried. They really tried. Then they just kind of realized, like, this isn't working. And then it just makes me laugh that they went, this isn't working. Dr. Manhattan, take care of him. Get him out of here. Or take care of her. Get her out of here. And then, poof, she's gone. It's Mary. Andrew is in the bathroom. Well, Mare, always a pleasure to see you. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves, having time together in person instead of just, hanging on Fortnite or Marvel Rivals. That all being said, obviously, guys, click on Mary's name here in the chat. Go subscribe to the Room of Requirement. That is her and Andrew's Harry Potter channel. They're putting in a lot of effort in it. Well, not just those two, also a couple of our other friends. Dylan, Trace, you might know them. If you do, you love them. Go hang out with them. Go subscribe. With the new series about to kick off, they've got a lot of content rolling down the pipeline from, and it's expert content. They know what they're talking about. They're not just sitting there going, that's dumb. Yeah, that is dumb. Okay, subscribe. Like, come on, Andrew, Mary, you know what they're doing over here. And then before we move on, I do want to highlight, it is in the pinned tweet here on the channel. We do have a Twitter account now, as well as an Instagram, but that's beside the point. On Twitter, if you go follow us right here, x.com, Foil Variant Show, we are currently accepting entries to win your own copy of... Do I really not have them here in my room? Well, let's see. We're going to do... Give me 1 second. Let's try this. All right. We are back. Hey, my little BRB thing actually worked out that time. But will it come down? No, it will not. But I'm back. Let's see. Hell, you love him? I love him too. Andrew's the goddamn man. Yes, you guys definitely work hard because, I mean, A, I know you guys, and B, it shows in your work. But, as I was saying, as I ran out there really quick, follow us on Twitter, x.com/foilvariantshow. Right now, the pin tweet on that account is we're running an open submission, open raffle. If you guys didn't get your chance because it is officially sold out, we are raffling away 2 copies of, like 2 copies each of Rippazine number 5 and the collector's edition right there. Womp, womp, womp. Featuring the debut of Andrew's brand new speedster character for the Rippaverse. These are completely sold out to the point where Andrew did not even have any copies that he could sign over at MegaCon a couple weeks ago. So, the only other way, if you don't have your copy right now, aside from, winning this raffle, the only other way you'll be able to read these stories is in the collected Rippazine collection that is currently up for order over on the Rippaverse. So, go to Twitter right now. Go to Twitter right now. Sign up for that. We will be pulling the winner live on stream next week with Andrew. You will have to be here to claim it. We'll set that all up. Don't worry about it. But put your entries in. Win a piece of comic book history. Why don't you? That being said, before we move on, I just realized let's also jump over here and bring everybody's attention to I had it a second ago. There we go. As of today, I know I've known this was in the works, obviously, but now we can share it with you. We have, my damn icon. Okay, hold on. Let me get rid of that. Phantom Kabuto, go away. As of today, and the campaign for the first actual official solo issue of Andrew's Arc Stream Hero is now live over on the Rippaverse. It is, guys, I've seen what Andrew's cooking. Obviously, if you read that first story, you'll know he's got something here, right? Even if, just talking to him, seeing the interactions from Rippaverse fans, he's hit gold here. He's got something that everybody really wants to see, and I know that he's delivering quality with it. So check out the first complete story that he has to offer. Guys, he's getting colors by Andrew Dollhouse. I'm kind of crapping my pants. That's a really, he and I love Andrew Dollhouse colors. So the fact that he's officially coloring something related to his work or our work or just anything in general, it's crazy. We're super stoked. There are 4 incredible covers that you guys can order as always. I wish Andrew was here because then he would be able to give me the really nice graphics. But where is that for cover graphic? So, as always, come on, internet. You've got your cover A's, your cover B's, your cover C's, your cover D's. I believe your cover C is going to be your foil one, as always. Your cover B is going to be your retro one. And guys, I can at least say I've got your backs because I'm going to take credit for it, Andrew. I know you might be listening, right? If he's not, Mary, you let him know. There was originally not a plan to do the retro throwbacks, right? But you guys know me. I've said it on the stream a lot. I love retro throwback covers like this. I love when comic books used to tease you like, one of these characters will die, right? Or had word bubbles, something that actually gripped you in instead of just a picture of Scott Summers standing there in the same pose we've seen 400 times. There originally wasn't a plan to do that. I said, Andrew, my boy, bro, you got to hook me up with that. And he said, let me see what I can do. And boom, it's here. It's a hit. So if you guys are a fan of retro covers, if you're a fan of Arc Stream, you're welcome. Anyway, go hit it up. Go pre-order now. To address the elephant in the room, yes, there is a name change. There's nothing wrong. There is nobody got in trouble. Nothing like that. Andrew, when he's around, if he wants to, he can share more details. But long story short, this is kind of just what happens in the world of creativity. Sometimes you throw out a name. And in development, you go, I don't know if that really worked. Let me try something else. And but eventually you land on something. You know what I mean? So we've got Arcstream now. Blue Shift is now Arcstream. False Start #1 is up for pre-order. Go check it out. Go to our Twitter, Foil Variant, to sign up for the raffle for the Rippazine collectible giveaway raffle. I think I already said that word. And with that, let's throw it over here to Reginald Barclay, who says, that new symbiotic Spidey costume is weak. I think that's a perfect transition here, or a perfect segue for us to get in. Let's talk about some new comics and not some old man laughs at something he remembers happening in college, because that's when the New 52 was happening for me, guys. I remember reading all this stuff in college, like in my dorms, and or not my dorms, but in my apartments and all that. All right, so as Reginald brings up, the new symbiotic Spidey costume is weak. You guys might have peeped him, or you might have peeped this cover in the thumbnail for tonight. I got, when Andrew was away, Mav gets to play, and that is why we have the Peach Momoko variant is chosen for this week. Let's just, if there's a Peach Momoko variant as our thumbnail, you guys know that it's going to be a solo ride. You know what I'm saying? But this week, whoops, wrong button. Didn't mean to push that one. This week, we have Web of Venom. Why is this thing not fitting properly anymore? I had it set. There we go. That's what I was looking for, kind of. That's better. There we go. So, this week, we got Web of Venom #1. If you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, in the Venom 250, right? We just hit our landmark issue. That's where we went from the all-new Venom numbering to the Legacy Venom numbering, still following MJ in the symbiote suit. One of the backup stories in that book was a random tale about a futuristic, like another Spidey in another dimension, or he's not, Spidey's the right word. Basically, alternate universe Spider-Man who gets the symbiote and isn't really like a hero. He's a little self-centered. He's really just about like being out there and like, being himself, freedom, yada, yada, yada. It was, as Reginald brings up here, that story really was just this. So I'm even actually skipping a step. Let me run it back. Let me run it back, right? Let me see if I can pull up all of these correct issues, because that way I can be very, very clear about what is going on. There's something going on right here. I don't know what song that is. So bring your good times and your bad times too. Mav's gonna keep cracking his voice for you. Celebrate good times, come on. Why can't I find this one issue that I really need us to look at? This is so frustrating. Isn't this the content you guys all show up for? This is the high level discussions we get to have, which is Mav forgets exactly where the specific page in which specific book he's looking for. Goodness gracious. Bum, 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 bum. Venom. Oh, because I'm looking at the wrong thing. Say it with me now, everyone. Wrong thing. Maybe. Is it here? Or is it... I really can't find the issue, even though everything is like all perfectly sorted and everything like that. That's upsetting. But I guess we don't technically need it unless I threw it in here. I know, guys, this is such great content. Don't worry. We're almost done. If I can't find it in here, we're just going to move on, because I realize it is dumb. And it looks like I can't find it. Actually, what am I doing? This issue will tell me. Let me look over here real quick, guys. I'm going to go back to just me. We're gonna go. Whoa! We're gonna go look right here real quick. while I look this crap up, because now it is how do I put it now? Now it's personal, if you will. Where this came from. Ba, 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 ba. Bum, 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 bum. There we go. I think we're close. I think I got it. Oh well, I didn't. Oh well. You're gonna have to take my word on this. I really wish I had the issue on hand. I know this is stupid. Let's just get back into it. Okay. And we go to comics. So, couple weeks back in Venom, with, with Venom being out there, with Mary Jane suiting up, they needed to intervene in a public situation, but they're under hunt from, the Scar forces, Dr. Octopus, all the anti-symbiote stuff. So, in the heat of the moment, as they are, landing to save the day, and they're showing themselves, and they're here, da-da-da-da-da-da. Instead of just showing up in the standard Venom suit, Venom goes, okay, we're going to take on this sort of pseudo Spider-Man look, right? To fool everybody and say like, oh, yep, ha, it's Spider-Man. He's here to save the day. And this is what it ended up looking like, right? Very slapdash, very rough, very thrown together. From that little incident, right? That whole bit resolves with them going like, oh yeah, Spider-Man, you better get out of here. More people need your help. And off he goes to save the day. And oh wait, was that it right there? No, that was not it. More Venom, more Venom, more Venom, more Venom, more Venom. Whatever. Like, it bugs me now because I feel like it's right here and I thought I had it. Oh, and I'm being a very, very inconsiderate host to everybody here, aren't I? Aren't I? Bum, bum, ba, bum, 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 ba, bum. Okay, whatever. I tried again. Now I'm just getting obsessed. So, off of that, disguise story, MJ and the symbiote put away the design. Next, we get this backup story. I believe it was in a they did another Venomverse, Spider-Verse, like, stupid event. We're at the point where I don't even care about these. They just piss me off because they feel the most like a cash grab out of possibly anything. But I know that, was it in Fresh Brains? I think I have it right here. Wow, I'm just bad at this today. I don't have it here. But anyway, yeah, they introduce it as like, oh, there's actually another universe where this symbiote really exists. And find out more. He's going to have more adventures about himself. That was like months ago. And I think this was supposed to come out before that. But now I think with the whole Death Spiral event going on, and then the quick cancellation of Carnage, I think just everything is in a weird spot. So we finally get this issue today. And Web of Venom #1, it's kind of really disconnected from everything. Like, it really isn't set anywhere. It very much feels like it's just new story, new everything, hop on in. And what we learn is that the person wielding the symbiote is actually none other than Captain Boomerang. And what we learn is that Captain Boomerang, we all know him. He's had more of a, started out as a villain, has turned into more of a comedic, sometimes villain, sometimes, assistant to Spider-Man kind of thing. Was Peter Parker's roommate for a little bit. Tries, is a criminal, but still has like a heart of gold, hangs out with the Shocker and all that, the superior foes. The whole story here is that Tombstone is starting to offer everybody, upgrades to their powers. If you're just a regular villain, you can go to Tombstone. He'll upgrade you, and that'll help you, survive on the streets. You're stronger now. Overdrive, who you guys might remember if you read Superior Foes of Spider-Man, he comes over and he goes, hey, why not come get a power enhancement with me? And Boomerang goes, nope, we're not doing that. But I'll go with you just to make sure you don't die. And so while they are at the, facility where Overdrive is going to get his boost, the Aberrant Crimes Division busts in and they go, we're shutting this whole operation down. Everybody on the ground. as the whole commotion, is popping off, Boomerang knocks over the symbiote, it falls down, and it says, all right, let's do this. Let's symbiote it up. And what we learn, let's see, where's a good graphic here? Here we go. What we discover is that this symbiote is unrelated to Venom. He's unrelated to any of that stuff. His name is Passenger, and he has been here since like the 1800s. He landed, was kept in a lab all through the years, passed from lab to a flea market to a garage sale to somebody's like arboreum and stuff, or not arboreum, but like the hell do you call those things? The like, it's not a greenhouse. Maybe it is a greenhouse. Whatever. Biome, I think I'm splitting hairs here. But he basically is just in that jar, as we saw on the last panel, and he just sees the world passing him by. He's been here for about 200 years. So now that he's out, and now that he is latched onto Boomerang, he just says, hey man, I just want to be out here. Like, maybe I'll help you do your crime. I'll help you stop crime. Like, whatever you want to do, don't get rid of me. I want to have fun. I want to stretch my legs. And we get this, he gives him the idea for this design, because he goes, oh, I'm connected to the symbiote hive mind. I remember that this just happened. Why don't we take this on, and maybe it'll make this transition easier. Maybe more people will think we're a hero, yada, yada, yada. Here we are. Eventually, he confronts Tombstone. He saves everybody. Long story short, he goes, all right, that was pretty fun, and I don't think I'll get rid of you, because you're right, it is dangerous out there, but hey, why not? Like, just hang out with me. And so he goes, yeah, of course, like why not? Like, absolutely. And then we end the issue with Boomerang going like, all right, I just want to lay low, no Avengers attention, like, we just fought Hawkeye, we just, stepped on Spider-Man's territory, let's breathe. And we end the issue with, for some reason, Passenger is wanted by the entirety of the Marvel mystical side, right? We've got Brother Voodoo, we've got Kushala, we've got Wanda, who's the current Sorcerer Supreme, and that is where we end this book. So, to Reginald and Sakuramita here, who says the art style doesn't help, it looks like shit. I'm very much not a fan of this art style. If you guys have watched the show for a little bit, you'll know that recently Andrew and I have come across this trend, inside joke, where Terry Dodson, we all know Terry Dodson artwork. He knows how to draw, very beautiful women. He knows how to draw very beautiful women with the assistance of his wife, Rachel Dodson, who normally handles his inks and his finishes, all of that. Recently, for whatever reason, I'm not implying anything sinister. Maybe he's, she's busy, or he's just trying to bring in some extra work. But he's had a lot of issues where he is the only artist. Like Rachel is not there. And you can see, like, oh, this is like, it feels bad, is how Andrew and I always describe it, because it just feels bad. Here, I know I have examples of this one at the ready, because I have Ultimate Endgame right here. So let's just go to a Dodson page. Oh, did he not draw in the last issue? Okay, no, he did, and this will actually help my point. So jump over here, see display. We'll go, not DCKO. Is that really what it thinks it's displaying right now? DCKO, you're weird. Here is, whoa, let me zoom back in on that. So, like, we know Rachel, whoa, pushing buttons, making copies. Like I said, we all probably recognize Rachel, or like the Dodson artwork, especially in the MJ there. However, you can note, like, you can tell something is off about these pieces, right? For example, look at MJ's hand right here. It's very flat. There's no nail even though it's close up. There's no different shading on her knuckles to imply that her hand is like slightly curved. It feels really weird, right? And even her face over here feels really, really sloppy. It doesn't feel like look at the lines, right? You see a lot of like spackle on the border lines instead of really clean, really like clean cut lines. And then you go back down here to the bottom where we look at Jonah and Ben, and look, I understand that this is a faraway shot, but this is not what I would expect of a freaking Dodson, right? Like, this is somebody who I would expect to kill it at sort of any given moment. Here, I also have this one open where it's probably more apparent. This is where Andrew and I first started noticing how just like off kilter Dodson was getting without Rachel. Let's go to what page of this is the best one? Because there is one that Andrew and I were like, wow, what are we doing here? Here it is. Jump up, all new Venom? No, we need Venom 250. And then we zoom. Like, what is happening here with Venom shooting webs? Right? Like, what the fuck? I could not tell. Like, this is worse than like if you're in like a Hollywood executive meeting and they're like, oh, what if there was a scene like this and they did it on a napkin? And that is, so this like gooey, not clean, very fuzzy almost. Like what the hell are those hands? I have no idea. But this very fuzzy art style. This is what the Venom costume reminds me of, right? And it just doesn't work for me. And I think a lot of us here are in agreement. We can understand what they're sort of going for, but altogether, I think it becomes a mess, right? It's especially, it's those webs. The fact that they're all so like whoa, all over the place. I think it worked when we saw it the first time, when Venom and MJ are like, off the top of our head, what do we do? Yeah, we're Spider-Man. This is right? Because if you even remember, they couldn't get it right. There was even that moment where like Luke Cage is like, thanks for your help, Spider-Man. And he's like suspicious, and the symbiote or MJ goes like, you're welcome. And he has like a mouth, or the Venom goes like, you're welcome. And MJ's like, pretty sure Spider-Man doesn't have an open mouth like Venom. It makes sense in that moment, right? This idea that that passenger is just going to pull that same thing and just rock with it. It feels a little like forced. It feels a little far-fetched. And to be completely honest, this entire idea of this being a separate character has always been really forced. I mean, you had the costume moment, and then like I said, you had that Web of Venom verse, like he gets a solo story, and then in Spider-Verse versus Venomverse, which is this whole stupid event about like this, like a multiversal team of spiders has to fight a multiversal team of Venoms, yada blah 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 blah. Not very good. We've been here before. In one of those issues, it's like a 5 or 6 issue miniseries. In like issue 4, he randomly shows up as like a group of Venoms are deploying, and then he's like, never mind, like I'm out of here. And it just says like, who is this mysterious character? Find out later, right? And it's just like, what? Or not like what? It's very. Sorry, I farted on that one. Because I'm pretty sure I can find that panel right. Was it here? No, because that's the end of the series. Oh boy. Bum bum bum. Bum 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 bum. And like, I really want to like bring this one up, guys, because it is very just like a bald face. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's insulting. I think that's the best way to put it. If I can find where this guy shows up, because he just like shows up and he's like, okay, I'm out of here, bye. And it just says like, follow up on his story. Boop 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 boop. Man, normally I'm a lot better when Andrew's around to be like, oh, I think it's right here. And I go, yes, my friend, you absolutely know what I'm talking about. Do I not have the right issue? I know it's this event. It's probably somewhere. Who really knows? Who knows these days with how scatterbrained everything is? Actually, I know a very quick solution to this. Web of Venom #1 wiki. And then you go, oh, hey, look, it's Web of Venom. And then you click on the passenger symbiote. And that's not who it is. You bastards. You bastards. Oh, here, maybe if I go here. No. Come back? Maybe? Dumb. Dumb. Can you give me a list of symbiotes, maybe? That would be cool. Population. Whatever. Wiki is letting me down. Many such cases. All right. Let's get back on track. I've been doing enough not knowing what I'm talking about. Get back to everything correctly. Yoink, 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 yoink. Okay. Yeah. So he's felt really, really forced from the beginning, right? Like, it's one of those things where they go, oh, look, new design, buy a bunch of toys of it, buy this, blah, 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 blah. Rarely, sometimes it works organically in a story, right? For example, Spider-Man getting his black suit or Venom getting the gold upgrade. Other times you go, you're really trying to sell some merch here, aren't you? And so it's a bummer that they're leaning onto this design, right? Especially because I'm getting, with the whole Death Spiral stuff, personally, I'm getting a little tired of all the symbiote Spider-Man stuff. I think we can take a little breather after Death Spiral, after Null, after Queen in Black, and let's have Spidey just be in our friendly neighborhood again. That being said, guys, I will say this issue was really damn fun. I had a lot of fun reading it. It's probably my book of the week. Even this ending right here where it's like, why the hell is Passenger wanted by the entire council of magic people? And the fact that it's Fred, Captain Boomer, or not Captain, but Boomerang in like the driver's seat. It's a lot of fun. And it's one of these books that it's kind of, Andrew and I talk about them a lot, where they're sort of disconnected from everything else that's going on. You guys might remember earlier this year, I was ranting and raving about Hell Hunters, which was a story set in World War II with all of the, like the Sorcerer Supreme and Ghost Rider and stuff. That didn't really have an effect on anything, but it was one of the best books I had read in recent times. Same with all of JMS's one-shot, Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon type things. I know Andrew and I loved the Emma Frost miniseries that they recently did, the retro one. So Marvel, it's very, very clear, or it's starting to be more clear with Marvel, that if you want to play with the main continuity, that's where everything is going to fall to pieces. If you can step out of that however you can, even if it's just editorial saying like, hey, we've got Reginald Barclay, he's coming back and he's doing a 5-issue miniseries of whatever. The sell of this miniseries is not that it's canonicity or that it's going to reveal something secret. It's that you guys know Reginald Barclay and you want to read that story. That's where you're going to get the really, really good stuff. Otherwise, we're in this sort of zone where we have to, you got to wait like 5 years for anything at any moment to make sense, right? And I mean that in the sense of every 5 years or so, we'll keep building, we'll keep adding things, we'll keep saying, oh, there's this new character, there's this plot twist, there's this change. And if you try to sit there and plot it out as described in those books, it's going to be a mess. You're not going to make that timeline make sense. And you're just going to go like, what are we doing here? But every 5 years or so comes along a miniseries or an adaptation that, because it has the benefit of hindsight and having all of these pieces already laid out and knowing how the flow is supposed to go, they can give you this sort of like, they translate it essentially into a form that's like, oh, this is actually really epic and it kind of makes sense. The one that sticks out in my mind all the time is Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. That one goes from forming of the Avengers to like Masters of Evil to, it goes up to Secret Invasion, and it goes like, it's crazy, but it takes a bunch of that stuff. And because it can shed what doesn't make sense, it can clean up the edges, it all reads better than it would have sort of in the moment if you're trying to be really particular about it. And more often than not, I tend to find good writers are able to make sense of these things. I'm talking like your Hickmans, right? Your Al Ewings. So give it like 5 years, and any like this Death Spiral stuff, Spidey's Space Adventure, Hellgate. Do you guys remember Hellgate? I just realized that saying that word, currently going on in Amazing Spider-Man is the whole Death Spiral event, right? With our super freaky ass. Let's see. We'll do a quick check in on him because he's been brought up, right? All right, close that. Hopefully, yeah, we got our new Venom. And of course, let's get a good boom. We've got Venom is officially bonded with Torment. So that is where we are in that story. But I just realized, like, saying that out loud, guys, like, what happened to the whole Hellgate thing? When Joe Kelly took over, that was the big sell, remember? It was like, for the next like 15, 20 issues, we're going to divide it in half with, who was it? They switched it up so many times. Pepe Larraz was going to handle all of Peter's adventures in space, where he had been punched out by Hellgate in like to the other side of the universe. And then John Romita Jr., who eventually had to get help from, thank God, because Romita Jr. is no longer able to cook, but they brought in one of my favorite Spidey artists of all time, Ed McGuinness, right? But that whole story was, we find out what Peter's doing in space with the Hellgate thing, and then we have, what's happening with his life here on Earth, and then the whole thing is about him coming back to fight Hellgate. And we have immediately launched into this issue. If you guys caught the cover here, it's like all over to the side. We'll zoom in. Look at that. Part 7 of 9 of this crossover we've already hit with Peter being back, and nobody has said a word about Hellgate. This is what I'm talking. Like, this is where it's all messy, because then you go like, what the hell? Give it 5 years. Somebody's going to come in and put out like a what do you call it? Like a streamlined timeline. That's what I was looking for. They'll streamline it and it'll all make sense. And if not, we can always have a crisis event or a secret war, if you will. That's the one that Marvel really likes, right? But yeah, with that, just I guess the final cap on all things Web of Venom is right there with you guys. Not a big fan of that goofy design. Pretty big fan of this first issue so far. Don't know if it's going to hold, but hey, I'm in so far. I'm happy with the fact that I picked it up, right? Let's see. And yeah, speaking of, I can't believe we're doing this out of order because I completely blanked, but like we got to do our physical pulls this week, right? Because guys, not a lot on the physical pull list this week for me, at least. I know there was stuff to read, but if you guys are new here or you haven't heard us break this down before, the buying habits between me and Andrew are a little different. Andrew will buy every book to actually read. I, on the other hand, I have a little bit more limited funds, so I specifically stick to the books that, I really want that cover or I really want to support. So my pulls are somewhat more limited every week. But with that being said, we still had, there were some good covers this week. Obviously, like I said, we had to go with that Peach Momoko Web of Venom. Beautiful. We also got Peach Momoko's, the 4th issue of her Side Dimensional Rivals, which I am going to, this is a sleeper book for me, right? Or like, I consider this a sleeper hit because nobody is talking about this book, but this is, to me, how you do a multiverse story where you're traveling through a lot of different dimensions, right? Especially when we're talking comic books or even something animated or just anything like drawn, if you will, right? Anime, comic books, blah 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 blah. Because what we have in this book is basically the Psylocke that we, long story short, Peach Momoko, one of her first big things here for Marvel was this series called Demon Days, where she reimagined all of the current Marvel canon in a feudal Japan sort of setting. And that one miniseries was so popular that they let her go, and she did a bunch of other series set in that continuity, like she did her take on Civil War, right? Or on the Armor Wars with Iron Man. So with that Psylocke Psy has been the protagonist of all of Peach's stuff. And if you guys play Marvel Rivals, you'll recognize that Psylocke is actually Psy. And she, that is specifically the Psylocke from all of Peach Momoko's stuff. So this series follows her being sent on a mission by who she doesn't realize is Galacta to go through all these different universes and find the various Infinity Stones. Whatever, guys. Like, I'm not going to get into the Loki discussion. I'm just going to let Peach cook, right? But the sort of selling point of this entire thing is that every time she goes to a new dimension, it's a new artist. For example, here, our artists for this issue are Jim Mahfood, Giuseppe Camuncoli, who, that's the guy Andrew and I don't like, who draws Flash and whatever, who's fast, and that's pretty much the reason we think Marvel and DC keep hiring him. And then Phil Noto. Other ones, I believe last week had, oh gosh, what's his name? Mike Del Mundo, right? Just lots of really popular artists that I'm blanking on because I don't have all the issues in front of me. But you get about 3 different takes on the same character, different actions. Oh yeah, like the first issue was Peach and then Iban Coelho, our boy Iban, right? So if you're like me and you really love multiverses and you love art styles and the whole just concept of like same but different universe, I don't know, all that kind of stuff, definitely pick this book up. I cannot wait until it comes in an omnibus because gonna recommend this to everybody. Then I just realized it's a very Peach week because we also get the first of her Ultimate Farewell covers on the regular Uncanny X-Men series. Guys, so Andrew and I had a discussion about this because he didn't realize what was going on. A couple weeks back, they announced we're getting these Ultimate Farewell. Let's see, what's the best way? Yeah, Ultimate Farewell covers on a bunch of Marvel books, right? And Andrew sent me the announcement. And he's like, dude, are they doing like a bunch of what's happening? Are we like continuing Ultimate Universe? Temporary stopgap? And I went, no, they're just throwing like this is pure milking is what they're doing, because they have a whole set of like 27 covers that are on standard regular like other Marvel publications that just reference the Ultimate Universe, right? Like there's I forget, like one of them is just a pinup of Iron Lad. Another one is just like, yeah, like a pinup of Black Panther. They're not exciting, and only like 3 of them are drawn by the actual artists. No, 4 of them are drawn by actual artists who worked on the Ultimate Universe, right? So if I were in charge of this stuff, if I was the publisher, if I'm looking at, okay, we had the Ultimate Universe with single creative teams the entire time, sometimes with the occasional like assistant artist or the fill-in artist. We saw that a lot on Ultimate Spider-Man, where Marco Cicchetto, I forget who was it Messina? David Messina would do the like Gwen and Peter and MJ, Harry sort of like talking moments and scenes and stuff, right? If I were the publisher and I was like, okay, we've had these same consistent teams, and we're ending this whole thing, and I want to do a set of covers that sort of is like saying goodbye, if that's truly my intention, I'm going to get either like, or like, blah, blah, blah. At base, I'm going to get every single one of those, like every cover that comes out as part of this will be drawn by like one of the artists who worked on this, and it's going to be about their series, right? What is the mark here? Let me look up the Marco Cicchetto one, because it's really bad. The only four, by the way, who got covers are from the Ultimate line, who got Ultimate Farewell covers are Marco Cicchetto, the Ultimate Spider-Man artist, David Messina, his backup, Peach, who did all of Ultimate X-Men, and Alessandra Capuno, forget who it is, but the Ultimate Wolverine artist, right? And that's, so you're skipping out there, you're skipping out, what's his name, who was on Black Panther, you are skipping out on Phil Noto, who was over on Ultimates, as well as Dyke Ruin, right? Who, Andrew, you guys know me and Andrew, we crap our pants anytime there's a Dyke Ruin cover, because they will never, ever foil his shit. We looked it up. They've only foiled Ryan covers twice, and that is very, very upsetting to us. Ultimate Farewell covers. This is the Ultimate Farewell covers. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I have the piece. What's the best way to like show this off? Hopefully AIPT here can help me out. They can. What friends? Go. Load, please. Anybody? Bueller? Oh, you want me to do stupid? You want it to be stupid like that? Gotcha. So, oh no, I don't even think Cicchetto got one. Never mind. It's Netho Diaz who does his cover, and like check this out, right? This is the Ultimate Farewell cover by Diaz. And it was for this Web of Venom, actually, the book we were just talking about. It has, this never happened, right? This fight never happened in the Ultimate Universe. That's Otto versus Kraven the Hunter. If you guys remember, Kraven gets his fucking head blown off by Gwen Mysterio. And that's way before Otto ever puts on one of Peter's suits. So, obviously I have this one in my hand, and this is because it's Peach doing this. She also has this awesome one, right? So it's like Peach is saying goodbye to her X-Men. I can get on board with that. However, when we go here, and like I said, this is only a handful of them, but you've got like 14 revealed so far. I'm pretty sure they said like 27, 24, right? Not like, this is one of those things that feels really gross, just like Venom, that push with the Venom Spider-Man, where it's like, you guys just want our money. Like, and that sucks, because none of the things they show here really reference anything. Okay, sure, we've got Peter and MJ together. All right, well, we can be okay with that. Gwen MJ. This is a better one. That's actually something that happened. That's actually the status quo of where we are at the end of Ultimate Spider-Man. Felicia, hey, I love the piece. It's a really good art piece, but it's not special. It's just a pinup of Felicia. Same with this Phil Noto Captain America. You couldn't even tell that that's supposed to be 6160 Cap. Again, another In-Hyuk Lee Iron Man, whatever. Hulk, Magic and Colossus just posing. She-Hulk stopping a train when that never happened. Random just Storm doing wind and lightning. Thor fighting a frost troll. This, I actually really like this one. I didn't spend any money on it, because if you foiled it with that color, I'd have been in, but I didn't. But, you know, Venom by Doley. You have your Wolverine cover by the artist. Your Spider-Man, your Peach. It just feels like a cash grab. And what makes it feel even worse is that, like, at this point, the Ultimate Universe kind of blows. Like, we've been going over it with each issue of Ultimate Endgame, but the whole idea of we're going to cut this thing right off at the neck, and we originally thought that this was a whole thing of like, look, everybody has their first arc. It's going to culminate in this, battle against the Maker. And then the original plan was that after the battle with the Maker, everybody leaves their books, right? Peach is going to leave X-Men, Hickman's going to leave Spider-Man, so on and so forth. We originally thought that when Marvel said, okay, you know what, we're going to cut it, we all went, oh, well, that's because that's probably like a natural ending point. Everything was going to be like, curtains, and that's kind of cool. They're going to cut this and leave it respectable, right? We compare it a lot to the original Ultimate Universe, where that started out really, really strong to an extent. You had your Ultimate Spider-Man, you had Ultimates, which regardless of how poorly it's aged, it was a shot to the arm for the Avengers, and it's what all of the MCU stuff is based on. And it started out strong, but then you started getting into things like Ultimatum, or Ultimate Fallout, or then Ultimate Comics, Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales, like that stuff, right? And it kind of it didn't go out with a bang. It didn't go out with a whimper. It went out with like, just like it won't go, like moaning and groaning in the other room for days and days and days. And you're like, dude, you've long, like, it's okay to go, right? Like, Bendis, it's okay to let the Ultimate Universe go. We can restart it again. Like, it's all right. Sakura says, everything Marvel makes is a cash grab, officially a house of wasted ideas. I mean, and what does Andrew always call, like, the house of status quo, right? And that's sort of what I was saying before, Sakura, because I wouldn't disagree with you at this point. There's, like I said, with Marvel in particular, there is nothing, the series from Marvel that I always want to recommend to you guys are the very contained, not canon, or like not, they're canon, sure, but they're not like directly linked to everything going on in current continuity. They're sort of in that spot of like, if a writer wants to bring it up, they can. Otherwise, they don't really have to. Those are like the best books they put out. And House of Wasted Ideas is probably super, super apt, considering in this moment we are talking about the Ultimate Universe, because this is yet again another instance of Marvel kneecapping Jonathan Hickman specifically. I know I didn't finish my thought a second ago, but we originally thought, you're going to cut it right here. This is where the Ultimate Universe, it'll stay pristine. Everybody will go, remember that Ultimate Revival in 2024? It was fantastic. And no matter what, even if you said, 4 months later, we're going to continue on with it, you still had like that Omni, that saga. Lock that down, put it in. Kind of like the MCU with the Infinity Saga, right? Like, you've got that, put it down, leave it some room, and now no matter what, even if it goes to shit, people can go, well, do you remember that chunk right there was really good? And what that does, guys, is it allows it to become colloquial and enter into like pop culture as a thing. So instead of going, I really liked when Jonathan Hickman was writing Spider-Man or Peach Momoko was on X-Men, you get to go, I really liked the Ultimate Universe revival, right? Like, we'll point to the Ultimate, like, remember that's always really good. Top 10 list, Ultimate Revival. And in the zeitgeist in everybody's minds, now it goes from, these creators had really, really strong ideas, to Marvel made a good editorial decision here to like greenlight that Ultimate Universe, which is not fair considering we learned that the plan, like I said, the universe was supposed to keep going. And you can tell if you've been following along in the Ultimate Universe, these last the last 4 or 5 months of books, not just like of one of the Ultimates or Ultimate Endgame, but of all the books, have been completely rushed, completely off kilter. The only person who said, whose series kind of like starts high, ends high, perfect, put a bow on it. Guys, it's Peach. It's the X-Men, right? And you want to know why that is? Because Peach said, fuck no, right? This is, you guys might remember a little while back on Twitter, Peach basically was like tweeting in Japanese and said like, yeah, when we got that order, I just ignored it, right? Like I got the order to start wrapping up the Ultimate Universe, bring it all in, tie it in, and I just went no. And her translator, Zach Davison, who does a lot of her localization and stuff for Marvel, came out and he was like, oh, that's not what she meant. She misspoke. She's always been on board. And it was like, this is very corporate PR-y. You guys got in trouble. And then you can tell because as soon as you crack open those 24 issues, they're so disconnected from what the other Ultimate books are saying that it something fell apart there in the writers collective, like in that office near the end here. And I genuinely, everybody who's working on this universe outside of what's the guy who is on, let me just look him up real quick. The Ultimate Black Panther writer is Brian Edward Hill. He's fine. I've talked about Black Panther before on the show. You know, I've given Andrew some updates. Pardon me. Let's look at this. This is a good visual. I like looking at this cover. It's a good cover. It's got my girl, the Femclops. But oh yeah. So Brian Edward Hill, fine writer. He's not like bad per se. I think his Black Panther series is easily the weakest of the Ultimate stuff because it's just, I've said this a million times, it's just the movie. It's just Black Panther, the movie. And then out of nowhere, it takes a really hard left swing into, oh, by the way, Vibranium is a sentient, like not just like a sentient entity, but like, remember like Ob Nixilis over in the event, like Hickman's Avengers and stuff? He's like one of those. Like, it's just like a very big, like, ancient entity. And it just and then him and Storm are supposed to have like the Star Child baby, and it kind of lost the plot over there, right? So where was I even going with that? Like, long story short, like everybody who's in that room, Dennis Camp, Pete Swinoko, Jonathan Hickman, I forget the guy, but Chris Condon over on Ultimate Wolverine. These guys are talented. You can go look back at all of their bibliographies, and yet whatever happened, Marvel's meddling fucked this up. And back to, to bring this full circle to what I was saying about Sakura Mita's comment, where, everything, or Marvel's officially a house of wasted ideas. It's no more, like, nowhere else is that more evident than in their treatment of Jonathan Hickman, where this man, who I would argue personally is our preeminent, like the best writer actively working right now in comic books. I would say, in my opinion, well, Peach is on a different level for me because she's very, like, she's not trying to, she's playing her own game, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to set my own, like, fandom over here. You guys do your comic book stuff. Like, it's good. It's great. But she's kind of on her own thing. But you have, like, Jonathan Hickman, and, like, to me, is probably the best writer. Now I'm just, like, stumbling over my words. If I were to give him some, like, people on his same caliber, the only, like, actively working, I would say Mark Waid. But Mark Waid differs in that, like, so both of them know superheroes. They love superheroes. They're fantastic at this stuff. They understand the core of all of these heroes. But I think Hickman is more willing to swing for the fences, whereas Waid wants to tell you a good story with that character, right? He's not necessarily, he's going to add new villains and new twists and everything, but he's never going to sort of make that the forefront of any of his runs. His whole thing is like, come with me and we'll see this character grow. Hickman is like, we're going into a new era, right? And so like that's like a difference there. To me personally, Hickman is only matched in this sense by Grant Morrison, right? Like my guy, my wizard, Grant Morrison. And so Hickman is this fantastic writer, once in a lifetime, or like generational, I would honestly say. And we have seen him have so many good initiatives. He has given his creative soul to Marvel in trying to like revive, like breathe new life into things. Like if I know I'm probably going to miss some, but just going off the top of my head, I think of his Avengers run, right? That's where we went into Infinity, where we started going into like the Builders and all of that stuff. You had his, obviously you had him with X-Men and Krakoa, where he decided, instead of telling another story about, oh, X-Men are, persecuted, he's going to tackle the idea of like why an ethno-state is bad, right? Because like on paper, yeah, a place where all the mutants can go and be safe and harbored and it's their own thing, like hooray for them. But that's actually like, that begets a really dark reality, as you could have seen in his stuff. You had, remember Gods, when Hickman had this entire idea for the mystical side of Marvel, and it was like he had a whole thing for that mystical side of Marvel, and then the most we ever got with it was like we put like the god, like who are your gods, like little teaser tag on the corner boxes for a little bit, and then his like series published. It like, how do you do that? Like you relegated him to like nothing. That's basically what they do. Is Hickman goes, I have this, we're going to take this and we're going to flip it on its head, but it's still going to be the same thing, but we're going to add this new element of drama. We're going to look at it in a way we didn't before. And Marvel goes, go for it. And then like 3 hours later, they go, no, we're actually going to change plans on that. Because that happened with with Gods. Imperial. That was Hickman, like the recent Imperial series. That was Hickman trying to revive the cosmic side of Marvel, which people forget that is like, no, I would say not only like Marvel's second or third, like historically strongest thing, right? Like output, their umbrella, I guess you would say, right? Like not only is it like historically like the second or third most popular, but like it sort of exists, its popularity exists outside of that other Marvel stuff. I've talked about this a lot before. I don't remember what I specifically was referencing when I wrote about it for Bounding, but the popularity, because I was talking about Fantastic Four First Steps and how they decided we're going to bring the Silver Surfer to the screen again and we're going to gender swap it, which we all know I'm not a fan of gender swapping, because it's like, just make a new female character. Don't insult women by giving them a hand-me-down, especially because now they get to go, this is the deviousness of that tactic, is Marvel gets, or whoever gets to go like, see, women, like Silver Surfer is a woman, Silver Surfer is a woman, deal with it. But then like they get to go, oh, but she's not the real Silver Surfer, right? Like he's still over here and he's still a man. So it's like, it's very disingenuous. But one of my biggest criticisms from a business marketing perspective with that move was in the 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't know how much I can emphasize how fucking popular Silver Surfer and like Galactus specifically were, not just to comic book dorks, but like the zeitgeist. Silver Surfer, there are multiple rock songs and things with like Silver Surfer and Galactus being referenced. Andrew and I freak out about this all the time, where I know it's you know, a lot of people always go like, oh, cosmic's a little, even that's hard to sell because you're doing with like space gods and wizards or whatever. Andrew and I are always baffled because, yes, okay, we're going to jump to DC for a second, but the Legion of Superheroes was bigger than the Justice League, than the Avengers for like the 70s and 80s. The Legion was Legion. And because of poor handling and poor maintenance and this weird belief by editorial that it just won't work, all of this cosmic stuff starts to fall by the wayside. I remember, I think I've talked about this before, but one of the things that really got me, like locked me into comics and went, oh, this is comics can be something different than like highbrow graphic novel and superheroes, right? Was the Annihilation event over at Marvel back in like 2005. One of my favorite events. It made me like the Super Scroll. And at the time, I'm a 15-year-old kid. I knew all this stuff. Like I loved it, but I didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. I didn't know what the Nova Corps was. And here I read this drama, this epic that ends with me having like Star-Lord, that version of Star-Lord, as one of my favorite characters. And so it's sort of what we talk about all the time. As long as you take an idea earnestly, readers will come along for the ride. Just look at the MCU. The Guardians of the Galaxy is like the second biggest thing, or like, who would have guessed all the way back like years ago that the Guardians would be like that people would know who they are. I remember in college when this was all starting to pop up, and like after that first Avengers movie came out, everybody went, Spencer, like we know you're a giant comic book guy. Who would you like to, like, what live action movies do you want to see in the MCU, right? And my answer was always the same. I went, well, one, Spider-Man. But I know that's not going to happen because there's this whole Sony rights issue, which I hope at that point I would like pray my friends didn't ask a follow-up question, because then if they did, it's like, you got 3 hours for this? So it would be like Spider-Man, Ant-Man, because I really, really, really like Scott Lang Ant-Man, always have, and the Guardians of the Galaxy. And everybody would go, who's that? And I went, exactly. And then lo and behold, Chris Pratt is here. So for Marvel to abandon their cosmic side, and then when Hickman comes along and says, I've got this plan, trust me here. And honestly, guys, I would highly recommend reading Imperial now just as a story, because unfortunately it's not going to go anywhere. But you have one of the, I don't know if I'd say best, but a very, very good, enjoyable story of like space palace intrigue and saboteurs and backstabbing and heroism in the face of reality. Just lots of good stuff like that, right? And then Marvel goes, no, we're not going to do it. Like Stephanie Phillips, she is the current writer for Planet She-Hulk. A highly recommended writer here from me and Andrew. God, what is that series we always like rant and rave that she wrote? Let me make sure that's her, because otherwise I'm gonna feel a fool. Yeah. Remember back in Venom War, the whole thing with Black Widow getting the God, what's that symbiote's name now? I forget. But Black Widow got her was it just Venomous? Whatever. That whole miniseries with Black Widow getting her symbiote and then training it and all that. Andrew and I ranted. We were like, this is a great. Who is this? And it's Stephanie Phillips. And she's been a really good, solid writer. Under the radar sort of writer, right? Like, she's on a lot of stuff. And if you pick up a book by her, it's probably going to be fire. She's just not being put as like the main, she's not your Chip Zdarsky yet. She's not your Joe Kellys yet. So, Stephanie Phillips is writing the Planet She-Hulk series, right? Which spins out of Imperial with Bruce being summoned back to Scar, but he sends She-Hulk in his place because he's like, I have to deal with, I have to do diplomat stuff here. If they need help on my planet, on the war planet, you go handle it. And then he kind of just goes like, he gets like a call from her. She's like, there's a lot of trouble. I need you to come back here. I don't want to deal with this. And he kind of goes, you know what? I could use a break. Like, he just hulks out, and he does like smug hulkness, and he just like lets her there. And so she's the de facto ruler of Sakaar now. And so Stephanie Phillips is writing the series, and then she's very active, and like she does like live streams and tweets and stuff. And then like one day she's just like, oh yeah, by the way, guys, got the order. Like, this series is ending in 2 issues because Marvel doesn't want to do the cosmic thing anymore. And that's the extent of their logic, was just, we don't want to do it anymore. But you know what we're going to get instead? We get our umpteenth Spider-Man crossover, which that's coming from me, the guy who like lives and like bleeds Spidey. So yeah, that's just me. I'll come in here to put that stamp on officially the House of Wasted Ideas. Let's see. Yeah, TV says, totally agree with Peach having her own lane. She really draws you in. Ignore the pun. And that's the thing, right? Is like, I can't really... Andrew and I talk about this a lot. Andrew always goes, I'm not a big fan of Peach, but I can't deny her talent. She's just not what I want from like a comic book. And I can go, I totally get that. You look at her stuff and it's more manga-y, more picture booky, not what you would think of a traditional comic things. And this is Andrew, who loves his, you know, I would say he, of our like artistic tastes, he likes to lean towards the, we're both probably on that same like very, you know, anime stylized manga level, but I think I prefer that stylization a little more, and he prefers, you know, the traditional J. Scott Campbell's, your Todd McFarlane, which I do too, but I'm open to things like, you know, I like Peach, I like Babs Tarr, things like that. So that's why I'm like, I don't want to put them on the same level. Yes, Sakura Mita also brings up with that marketing mistake with Silver Surfer, they didn't even bother marketing the Earth X comic. I learned, so you and I talked about this months ago when that movie was coming out, and we were both under the impression, if you remember, Sakura, like, we didn't see any updates about like, are you going to reprint it? Are you doing that? And they did, but like 2 months after the damn movie came out. So like, what are we doing here? That, like, why are you missing that obvious layup, right? Sakura asked, does Imperial suffer like the new Ultimate Universe? I would say the difference is that it's almost more cruel, right? Imperial got to play out. Imperial ended and set the stage. Like, stage was set for the next level of Cosmic Marvel stuff. And then they pulled the plug. Whereas with Ultimate, they were in the middle of it and said, oh, we're going to change all of our plans really quick. Are you guys cool with that? Let's do that. Let's see. They could have done it better if She-Hulk had her own journey to the West. I'd actually be... She's kind of like that in this book. Okay, that's not fair. I only say that, the reason I said she's like that is because I'm thinking Journey to the West, anime, in this series, she's got a fuck-ass huge, like, Buster Sword, right? I would be up for that because I think we need more characters that just, like, have adventures, right? Andrew, this is something we talk about with the Ryan North Fantastic Four series that's currently like being published. And let's see, I'm sure I can bring up one of those to look at. A shiny Fantastic Four. I don't think this is the most recent issue, but it's got my waifu on it, so we're going to rock with it, right? Malice, she's coming. Oh wait, we're on that. That's not the right one. We're on Malice. Yeah, all right. So right now, Ryan North is over here on Fantastic Four. He is, you know, what Andrew and I conclude with Ryan North, and this is sort of what I'm getting at, is he writes the Fantastic Four in a very serial anthology way, where every new adventure or like every new book is, or like every issue is a new, like, there's a new problem, a new bad guy, and they solve it and fix it and fight it within that issue, right? And then we go on to the next issue and we have another adventure. The problem with adventures like we're having over here in Ryan North's Fantastic Four is that they are... And by the way, one thing I cannot fault this series for, even though I'm about to rip into it really heavily, is that Humberto Ramos, even though I'm not a genuine fan of his, I actually don't like I'm actually not a fan of his art. I know Andrew, it's one of his favorites, but he is killing it with the exploration, the body horror aspect, I guess, of the Fantastic Four's powers in this series, and it rules. Whoa, 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 hitting things all over in the wrong spots. But we go here. So the difference between adventures in like a Ryan North type book is that every take for example that very, very first arc where Doctor Doom sent the Fantastic Four, he split them across time. So all four of them went to different time periods and he cut off time travel. So all of them were like, oh my God, how do we get back? And they went, okay, well, we have emergency protocols. Let's, get to them. We have to carve our time and location here. This will preserve it, yada, yada, yada. It's pretty interesting the way they go about solving this problem. However, the reality is there's never any stakes in these adventures. By the end of a Ryan North book, everybody's going to be okay. Or at the very least, they're upset, but nobody is dying. We're not getting big character upheavals. We're not going to get big swings for better or worse. And that gets boring. So why I bring that up in that comparison right there, Sakura Mita, is Journey to the West is great. And we should have more books where it's just character is wandering or he's patrolling and he just gets into more and more scraps. However, we would have to look back at the old Stan Lee, the old Jerry Conway, Spider-Man stuff, where it was slice of lifey, everyday average Pete, but every adventure would slowly be building, either the stress on Pete or the stress on somebody around him, and things would build to the point where because Peter's not paying attention, and remember, this is one of his faults. He's pretty self-centered when he's younger. Harry starts getting addicted to drugs. His, Osborn starts tormenting him, yada, yada, so on and so forth. There needs to be some level of challenge, drama, a reason for me to go oh, I really want to turn the page. Because yes, there's that understanding that we know it's comic books. The hero has to win generally. But as we see over in Absolute Batman all the time, Scott Snyder knows how to make you go oh shit, Bruce is our hero, but Bane's Bane is literally the scariest guy I've ever seen in my life. What are we going to do here? And so whether it's She-Hulk or it's somebody, we just need to bring that back. We need more stories like that, I guess. Hey, what's going on, Clone Geek? Howdy to you, my man. I know we're both I'm a little late over here with starting the stream this evening, but you're also joining us a little late, but happy to see you, my friend. Yeah, TV13 says Peach's watercolor aspect is mesmerizing. I'm just going to use this as an excuse right now to pull up what is arguably my favorite Momoko piece. Let's see, which one is this in? Fantastic Four, not Fantastic Four. Where is this? It's so cool. I really want to show you guys. Oh, I found it. Yeah, so what is this one? So this is Demon Days Rising Storm, right? This is one of those entries in her Demon Day series. We're gonna zoom in. Basically, this series is about her encounters with the storm gods, right? A river. And she comes across just two figures, two kami come out of nowhere. Who could they possibly be, right? And obviously it's Thor and it's Storm. And again, Peach knows how to hit my specific brain perfect, because I love this translation of Thor and Ororo as like god and like demigod in training on his side, right? Like that works with their characters. And I've always liked this idea of he's the god of thunder, but then that's the storm goddess. So there's got to be some link between Thor and Storm in there, right? But long story short, they come across. She says, "What are you doing? Are we gonna fight?" They begin to brawl, right? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. They start fighting, and as Sai starts to show like I can fight here. Like I'm not like defenseless. You're not just gonna overpower me. She takes a hit from Mjolnir, and she's completely fine. So they go, all right, she hits back Storm, and they go, all right, playtime's over. And they transform into like their real Oni kami forms. And this fucking page right here, when I first read this book and I got to this page, my jaw dropped. Like it captures the spirituality of this moment, of what this moment would be, the like the historical sense, like the historical setting of it, the magic of the moment, the mystic, just the color. I don't know. This is Peach Momoko to me, and this is where I became an annoying fanboy for her. You know what I mean? So always recommend anything from Peach. I'm really, really happy she kind of just ignored Marvel editorial. If you are open to her art style, right? Please pick up when it comes out, however you can, her Ultimate X-Men. I'm waiting for like whatever I'm going to go baller ape ass shit on whatever like special hardcover edition they make of that that omnibus, because it's amazing. It's really, really good storytelling, and I cannot recommend it enough. Let's see. What else is there even for this week? We're kind of running up on 2 here. I think we've hit a lot of what we were, of what there is to talk about this week. We got our Web of Venom. We got our, let's see. Let me do a quick hit. Let's see what else. Oh my God. Look at this. We've got Andrew making a last minute appearance. Says decent books this week. Well, that's what I was about to do. I was about to look and see what came out this week, what else to touch on. So long story short, Andrew, Web of Venom is my book of the week. I recommend it. The whole idea of a new Venom spider, this whole concept is stupid. I think you and I have talked about that. The book is surprisingly really fun. We had here, let's just do some quick hits really fast while Andrew is here to wrap up tonight. Let's make good on the promise to talk actually about comic books, shall we? Instead of me just going crazy over Peach Momoko. So we check in on Null this week. We got issue number 4 of the Null miniseries. It is this is going to be one I want to talk to you about, Andrew, because I know you and I were like kind of stoked on this. Like, oh, this is surprisingly pretty good for, what we expected from Null. However, this issue is where I'm starting to get into like the absolute carnage. Like, all right, buddy, like we're getting a little too, Mary Sue over here. Just too much, and it bums me out because I don't know if we're at that point right now where we can recover from it. I don't have faith in it, but I'm also like open to it. It's a whole bunch. Obviously, you and I will talk about it because I'm sure I know this is one that is definitely on your list. Let's see. Wolf says, just wrapped up a movie with Mare, gonna crash in a few. Really? I almost picked that up. Yeah, I was super surprised by it. I picked it up because it had this beautiful, like, full Peach Momoko cover. If you get it, like, you can, I'm not saying you should, but if you get bored while Mare is, like, I don't know, working or whatever. I talked about, that was the main book I talked about. Didn't expect a lot from it. Kind of went like, this is really dumb. Surprisingly really, really fun. I compared it to Hellhunters, where it's one of those books that's like, it's canon, but it's not super wrapped up and connected to what's actively happening. So you can enjoy it, and if they want to address it later, they can address it later, right? So, yeah, I would say if just read it, it would be great. Maybe if you want, my Pakistani guy can definitely hook you up. Which I just remembered, my friend, my Pakistani guy owes you a couple scans from some Flash issues from last week. That's completely on me. But let's see. Wrapped up a movie with Mayor. What'd you watch? If you're still around, just curious. Movies are always good. I know, because I remember last time you guys watched the movie together, it was, and okay, the last time I remember you guys watching a movie together and then like talking about it and like whatever, it was War of the Rohirrim, and both of you were like, "Fuck the culture war bullcrap! Like this is fun!" Like, and you guys were like, "Listen to us," and I was like, "This is funny." Yeah. Clone Geek drops in. He says Firestorm was solid. I was very surprised by that, right? Because this is Jeff Lemire, who, if you guys have been watching for a long time, you will know that we generally liked him for a long time. We were a big fan of his like New 52 Green Arrow and all that stuff. And then they put him on, like, even when he was announced for All In JSA and for Absolute Flash, we were both like, hey, that's pretty solid. Lemire, like, okay, deliver us something. And he has just crapped the bed with both of those series. And I think there's been like a book or two here and there that Andrew and I have like flipped through, and we're like, it's not it. This is really, really bad. Like, it is. I think we've actively asked on this show like several times, like, is Lemire cooked? Or Lemire cooked? Like, still up for debate. We were watching Godzilla X Kong at home, but tomorrow we're seeing Mario in IMAX. Enjoy. I still need to watch that movie. I keep forgetting it's out. Quick side note, because you brought up GXK, really random. I know if you guys remember when I used to be on Bounding and I would stream with Nerdigans always talked about, you know, Ross dressed for less, TJ Maxx, they're starting to get like anime toys. It's really random. And it's like Band Presto and like Bandai, like actual stuff. Ross currently has like the Gunpla kits for Goji, like the skeleton one and the like, it's like a 2-pack, or I think it goes inside, but they have that for like $25 at like a bunch of stores. I saw a bunch of pictures, so if you're bored, you could pick it up. But so with where we are with Lemire, I was like, I opened and I cracked and I read through Fury of the Firestorm because I like Firestorm as a character. He just doesn't get a lot, like, he's one of those characters where people tap out really. They go like, I had one idea for him and this is what it is. And it's generally the getting to know his powers kind of arc. Because once Firestorm knows his powers, this is again, like I was saying, like he's like the Spectre, right? Like he's super he can transmogrify anything into anything. So that all being, and of course, as I mentioned last week, I'm on my Firestorm interest is like slightly activated right now because they did a Firestorm series as part of the New 52 when they launched that, and it makes me laugh and it stands out to me because that series, written by Gail Simone, drawn by Ethan Van Sciver, who, speaking of culture wars, like we know those two could not be like the more opposite ends of the spectrum. And knowing when that was written, you can tell there's tension in like the art and like their working relation. It's pretty funny. But with that all said, with Firestorm on the brain, I cracked it open, and to what I was just saying, Lemire surprised me because, as you can see here, he's playing into that idea of Firestorm being the nuclear man. Like he can do all of this stuff, and he's really playing, and he's not afraid of like, yeah, this dude is like super freaking powerful and he can like fuse people and melt people and all of this stuff. So hopefully this book, like Lemire, I don't know how to say his name properly. You guys always can probably tell I like switch between pronunciations like mid-sentence, but hopefully, like, if he can keep this pace, I'm on board and I'm stoked because I like Firestorm. Clone Geek says, honest, I've always kind of thought Lemire was overrated. JSA, when it's in the past, is pretty good. Resurrection Man was an underrated New 52 book. I really, 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 really liked Resurrection Man. I I was actually surprised and bummed that they canceled that one, Clone Geek. I genuinely thought when I was reading it, like, this is a cream of the crop right here. Like, this is going to be one of those sleepers that survives the culling. And nope, I don't even think it made it to the first, like, cutoff point. I think they, like, hit it and then announced it later. But I can see this opinion, right, Clone Geek? Lemire being semi-overrated. And I can definitely understand where that overrating comes from, right? That Green Arrow run is really, really, really good. But I do think a lot of people put way too much emphasis on like how definitional and how well that treated Ollie. Go read the Longbow Hunters. Go read Year One, right? Like, we've had this story before. It's good. I love that series. But I did feel like, okay, everybody, chill just a bit. And then I was always cool with him because he always put out solid work. And that's why, like I said, like, we were interested. We were like, oh, cool. On Absolute Flash, it's Lemire, JSA, let's do it. We weren't like when I learned Grant Morrison and Dan Mora were going to do the main story on Batman Deadpool for DC, and I was like, oh my fucking yeah. Like, it was definitely not that. It was baited cautious optimism. Andrew says Firestorm rarely gets anything to do these days, but I've heard this book starts out all right. Hold on, let me move that logo really quick. Yeah, and that's what, you know, Clone Geek, who, and I say this like with genuine love and like, you know, like complimenting, we know Clone Geek is very, very critical. Like, he has a very high, like, what am I trying, like, standards, right? We know you, Clone Geek, and it's good. Like, if have your standards, there's nothing wrong with having standards, right? But we know yours are very, very high up. So for Clone Geek to come out and go like, hey, Firestorm from a guy I don't even really like that much was pretty good. I genuinely think like that's the perfect punctuation I can put on like, hey, this was a pretty good issue. Emily, oh my gosh, hail to Emily Kruger. I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time, girl. Either way, happy to see you. I'm so surprised I'm getting to see all of our like regulars so late at night. I would have figured most of us would have gone to bed by now. But hey, Emily, always a pleasure to see you. I'm just like genuinely stoked that you're here right now. All right, so that's Firestorm. Off to a good beat. Let's continue on just our quick hitting here to wrap up the show. We had a new Aquaman issue, which is it's fine. It still feels like we've complimented this book a lot. This has been one of our favorite DC books for a while here over at Foil Variant. The last couple issues have felt super rushed with all the DCKO stuff. This also feels a little like, oh, we're just jumping right into this. I think, Andrew, once you finally like get to thumb through it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's not bad per se. I still have, you know, pun intended, I still don't have my sea legs on this Emperor Aquaman thing yet. And I don't think the book does either. So I'm still stoked. I'm still on it. There's things in here that make me go like, hey, might be cool. But we'll see. I really hope this is just a temporary, like, whoa, from the DCKO stuff. Let's see. What else did I read this week? I have not gotten to our Uncanny X-Men stuff. I want to ask a question to you guys out there, though, because this is just, I mean, I could have looked this up, but hey, this has been on my mind a little bit. Did we not? Oh, no. I'm so stupid. Okay, so it just hit me. I was going to ask you guys. So we got the Uncanny X-Men annual yesterday, and when I was like holding it and reading it, I was like, did we not just get this, like an Uncanny annual from Ryan Stegman with Jean coming back to Earth? And that's like a thing Andrew and I were talking about because she's so powerful. And I just realized that was X-Men annual and not Uncanny X-Men annual. So ignore whatever I was going to say. I haven't cracked into these yet because I don't know. It's been sort of a busy week here all around. I will say this book, the Josh Williamson Iron Man book that's currently happening. It's an odd duck to me, right? Where a lot of it doesn't feel like, to be completely honest, guys, I don't really give a shit about Iron Man. I never really have. His suits are cool, and obviously RDJ steals the damn show in the MCU. Aside from that, I've been watching Gundam. I've been watching Tekka Man. I've been watching Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. Like, I've seen better armored suits on and on. And there are stories I like with Tony. Obviously, Demon in a Bottle, Armor Wars. A lot of the stuff, you know, when he's in an ensemble, like when he's on New Avengers, all of that's like post Bendis. Bendis really, you know, helped to put Tony where he needs to be, which is like, you are a superhero on street level, but you're still kind of like, you're battling mad scientists more than you are battling like, you know, goo monsters like Spider-Man is. So that all being said, this book, so the basic premise of this book is that AIM is trying to create their own Tony Stark, and they've abducted a bunch of, you know, candidates who are geniuses, Tony Stark award winners, and they're trying to like force them into that mentality of like build a suit, build whatever, because they just want an advantage. And for the last 3 issues, even most of this issue, it has just felt like it could have been an Iron Man movie, but you're stretching it out over like issues, right? Like if this was just a movie about like, oh, a bunch of people I've been researching with got abducted, let me go find it. We've kind of touched upon that in the MCU. Like that would have been okay. Like that was fine. I was like, all right, whatever. Every issue, there happens to be like one little development with AIM, who are the antagonists in the series, that make me go, I want to see how Williamson specifically can build on that. Like if this was anybody but, you know, your Morrisons, your Williamsons, your Adams, your Wades, you know, everybody we always praise over here with me and Andrew, I don't know if I would still be reading. But this is Joshua Williamson, who's given us a genuine generational Superman run, like the one that's currently happening. So I'm going, all right, let me see what you can do. And this is one of those things where it's like, right now it has the potential to either fizzle out, be amazing with like conclude amazingly, or be genuine dog crap. But right now it's like equal opportunity to each potential outcome, right? Iron Man feels like it needs to break in something to find its long-term footing. Yeah, like that's exactly kind of my thing with that, right? Is that, okay, you have him battle AIM, you have him battle Hydra. He battles these organizations, they wanted his suit, he gets the, you know, he shows his brains are better than that. It's kind of like the X-Men with, oh, the X-Men are persecuted all the time, we're so sad. It's like, great, can you give me anything new? Can you give me anything else? And that's where, you know, what you said, Clone Geek, the OG Ironmonger stuff, that really worked. To me, like, Armor Wars is such a good Iron Man story, not necessarily because of the, like, armor on armor fighting. That's pretty cool, but the industrial sabotage, like, castle stuff that goes on in the background, or, like, in the main chunk of that arc, is what puts it over the top. So when you have, I like when a writer will embrace who Tony is, instead of doing the, like, meek, I'm so sorry, like, I'm a sad boy Tony. Because, like, yes, Tony, you can have your regrets over Civil War or your alcoholism, sure, but I never see him as like a Peter Parker. He should always be that guy who's like, yeah, that fucking hurts, but I'm always going to mask it. I'm always going to be like, I want to be a celebrity. Like, he's basically the superhero celebrity. And the more writers embrace that, the more fun I have with an Iron Man book, right? That's why I really enjoyed Jonathan Hickman's take on the whole Avengers like world thing, when he was like, you know, okay, Cap and Iron Man are going to restart the Avengers. Cap is kind of in there like, we need heroes, like we need the grit, like the soul, and Tony is on the other hand like, all right, but the reality is, check out our cool satellite. We have money, don't worry, Spider-Man, we'll pay you. Like, things like lean into that. Be who you are. It's sort of like in real life too, right? If you like comic books, if you're a loud dork or whatever, like, of course, learn decorum, but also embrace these things because they're who you are, right? And the more you try to hide them, the more you try to, like, shelter it, people will go like, what are you holding back? What's wrong? Something's odd here. But yeah, that all said, I thank you for reminding me, Clone Geek, because I was like, I think you guys could probably tell, I was like, what is it in this book like that got me reinterested this time? And I could not land on it. And so yeah, in this book, it is the fact that there's a new Citizen V, right? And we have, for those who don't remember Citizen V, shout out to, I'm sad he's not here because I know Timon loves this series, but the OG Thunderbolts. Citizen V, the OG Thunderbolts, if we all recall, were in the wake of the Onslaught crisis. A brand new superhero team appears to fill in for the Avengers, who have mostly sacrificed themselves to stop Onslaught. This team, they're all new identities. Nobody knows who they are. They're all villains, right? You got Songbird is Screaming Mimi, Fixer is Beetle, and of course, Citizen V, the Nazi Hydra himself, Baron Zemo. And their whole shtick was, we're going to earn the public's trust, and then we're going to, ta-da, guess what? We won. We're in charge now. You're under our knee. But when the time finally comes for Zemo to go, like Zemo goes, all right, let's do this. Everybody goes, I don't know. Like, this is kind of working for us. This is better than getting, the shit kicked out of us every day. So the identity used by Zemo was Citizen V, who framed himself as the 5th attempt to make a Captain America, who didn't really go anywhere, but he still had his super soldier powers and all that. And he was the new patriotic leader of the new Avengers, if you will. Da-da-da-da-da-da, big reveal, it's Zemo, whoa. So, yeah, Clone Geek is saying, right now, we do not know who this Zemo is. He has been in every issue. He's sort of, the protagonists are always like, we need to go investigate this. And they go somewhere, and he's there. Unrelated reason. They have no idea why he's there. But so I don't want to say like he's one step ahead of them. He just happens to be one step ahead. I don't know a better way to say that. Clone Geek says he thinks it might be a resurrected Happy Hogan. I am going to be honest. That's probably, before this moment, I had no idea. Because we exist in one of those rare moments where every candidate I would think of, like main Tony villain, is actively occupied in a way that would just be too egregious to make them Citizen V. And specifically what I'm talking about is all the AIM stuff, right? Like the Scientist Supreme, Mask, MODOK, they're all dealing with Venom and Scar and Dr. Octopus right now. So I genuinely don't know who it could be. Happy, how did Happy die? I forget. But I now that you bring that up and the way he's sort of like, I'm just getting what belongs to me. Tony kind of screwed me over. I could see that, especially with Pepper being reintroduced as like a regular supporting character, because we know how comic books goes. Sometimes Pepper's around, sometimes he's not. But I see the vision there, Clone Geek. And then finally, Clone Geek says, I hope that Zemo comes back in Iron Man and Williamson brings back his anti-hero status. I would be open for that. Like at this point, I'm open for Williamson to do anything as long as it's good. And if he could bring back Zemo, I would be cool with that. If for those who don't, okay, that sounded so blasé. Let me rephrase that. Recently, Baron Zemo died during the One World Under Doom crossover, where he tried to lead a liberation force against Emperor Doom, and Doom just wiped him with his magic. There have been a couple issues here and there of various books where people have tried to revive him or, steal his DNA. The most recent New Avengers book, which, if you guys remember, I was not stoked on when it first came out. It's actually probably one of the more fun books I've read from Marvel in a long time. I'd very much recommend it. But the whole, one of the central plots of that is Zemo is trying to get resources to have the Jackal clone him a new and improved body, right? So I've always thought Zemo was a really good villain, and sort of to your point here, he's cunning, he's smart. Yes, he's a Nazi, but that sort of adds to his villainy, that somebody so evil could have such an edge over everybody. And so I think to this point, Clone Geek, where you said Iron Man feels like it needs to break in some things to find its long-term footing, I think bringing back Zemo and I don't know how you would do it, right? Like, just, that's something, you know, maybe we'll talk about it with Andrew next week, or maybe we'll talk about it offline over on Twitter, on our foil variant Twitter that I know you are all subscribed to right now, or you're following now, and you've all entered the raffle for a copy of Ripazine #5. But we'll talk about it. But I think that is what he sort of needs, right? Like, bring Zemo in a good way, make him a formidable threat again, and put him up against Tony. And again, I don't know how that conflict would play out. This is just coming to me right now off of our convo. The main thing that pops in my head right now when I'm discussing this potential is, don't make it a story where it's about, like, you know, hacking Tony's suits or stealing his technology. Essentially, Zemo should almost be like, dude, I don't, busted ass, right? Like, his suit, whack. His helicarrier, whack. Me, I'm tight as fuck. That's how Citizen V should, or Zemo should be towards Iron Man. Because then also imagine how that would, like, needle at Tony, having a more narcissist on you, right? Like, I'm starting to see the vision here, Clone Geek. Hopefully Williamson can deliver on either that or something close to that, right? But all in all, this Iron Man series continues to be, like, so slightly intriguing that I want to be like, I don't want to read it anymore. But the Citizen V things, and there's always a little, like, line or two from Williamson where I'm like, you know what you're doing. So yeah, those are the quick hits for the week. I haven't gotten to Absolute Green Lantern, haven't gotten to the Uncanny duology. I will shout out this, even though I don't think he's here anymore. We did get another Supergirl issue. Surprise! It's still terrible, and the series officially is out with me, because this is the first issue without any hint of the Thicktonian, and I'm not okay with that. All right, so Andrew, be valid. Like, I don't know. We've known the series sucked. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think with that, instead of continuing to ramble about the Thicktonian and all of my various waifus, that's probably a good spot for us to call it for tonight. So let's see. Oh, of course. Before we do leave, I'm so dumb. The entire reason, or like one of the main things I wanted to show off, the reason I was going through the physical pulls, is because I want to shout out to DC, because they're starting to do this thing that I really like, where they are second printing, like their second prints. They're starting to do it like Virgin, with foil covers on stuff, right? Like, for example, I know I showed it off last time, that Absolute Wonder Woman cover that's like teal with bats on the, like, background, and then a, like, glowing red Diana in the foreground. That was cover A. Then they reprinted it and they put it in foil, and I, like, picked that thing up immediately. But this week we got Guillaume March's Zatanna, like Absolute Zatanna, and I love this cover, guys. Like, for all artistically, hornily, presentationally, character designally, Guillaume's been killing it lately, and I really hope they do more foil treatments like that. Like, he did an Absolute Flash recently that I hope they foil. I mean, that doesn't sell enough to get the foiling, like, second print, but he also did, like, a glow-in-the-dark Kyle Rayner cover. So lots of cool things coming out from Guillaume, and just, yeah, man, like, this is, woo-wee. I like it. The plastic bag I've been, like, showing people all day, so, like, you can see fingerprints on it, but it's not on the book itself. Yeah. Oh, Andrew Watt's here. I can't believe how bad this book was. Yeah, man, it continues to just be stupider and stupider and stupider. And the fact that it's, like, tied into that Reign of the Superboys thing just annoys me even more, because it's like, go away. You're Superboys, all right? No girls allowed. That's what we're doing. We're putting on, no woke here, okay? We're no woke Kryptonian super families. I don't know. But yeah, guys, as Zero says, thanks for the ride. I think this is a perfect spot to call it for tonight. As Andrew likes to remind us, If we go over like 3 hours, YouTube says we hate you and we don't want anybody to see your video. So 2.5 is probably the perfect sweet spot. Let's see. What do I have for you before we head out of here? Next week, same bat time, same bat channel for another episode of Foil Variant. Andrew will be back. We'll have a lot more to talk about. We'll dive into that. We will also next week, as just another reminder, we will be giving away our first copies of our Rippazines. Remember, we have 2 each of the collector's foil and the standard edition. No longer available through Rippaverse. The only way to read these stories is to either buy them secondhand or to pick up the Rippazine collection that is currently being produced and printed and all that fun stuff. So go to Twitter, x.com, twitter.com/foilvariantshow. Follow us there. Andrew and I will be posting, we'll be actively using this as sort of like a place to engage with all of you guys. We'll be sharing panels we like throughout the week. We'll, retweet creators, share our pull list, yada yada. Just more fun, more talking about comics in a medium or more in a avenue, in an arena that is coming from the base idea of we still like this stuff, right? Like we still, even if things are bad, we like comic books. So go subscribe, go enter that. We will pull that raffle next week during the show. Tune in, be there, all that. And I think that's all we've got for now. Like I've said, keep your eyes peeled or keep your eyes glued to all of the Foil Variant stuff. We are on a big upgrade expansion type thing over here, me and Andrew. We got a lot planned for you guys. We're really excited. Go check out our New 52 retrospective from last week. I know it's not new comics, but I thought it was a pretty fun discussion. And TV, you are welcome, as is Emily and Clone Geek and Andrew and Zero and Sakura Mita. And let's see who else. Tex Ancap was here, Masta was here, and Mary was here for a little bit, and of course Reginald was here. So to everybody who was actively watching and actively chatting, I see you, I love you. Thank you for watching it. Your support allows me and Andrew to do this and keep giving you guys intellectually honest comic book talk. And to everybody who watches the VOD or was simply lurking, I still see you guys. You're just as equally important to me and Andrew as everybody who chats with us. We couldn't do any of this without you. We hope to continue entertaining you and giving you intellectually honest comic book talk for the foreseeable future. I don't know why I'm giving an outro that sounds like we're both dying, but same bat time, same bat channel next week. I know we didn't get to Shattered Dimensions this time around. Hey, we'll always get another chance. I'm sure there'll be, we'll play, we'll get there. I don't know. I'm just vamping in a really terrible way. So with that, everybody, I should probably just hit the end button, and I will see you all very soon. Take it easy.
Never before have we had greater face a complex, rapidly changing world. Think of it a moment.
It is a world in which supersonic speeds are commonplace. It is a world that has seen the coming of the atomic bomb. It has seen the rise of the total state, the dictator, and the mass man. It is a world of new sensations, new excitements, new distractions.
So much to be learned by so many in so little time.
And I suppose you're here with no agenda, as per usual?
On the contrary, I'm here for comics. What kind of man are you anyway? I'm talking comics and you bring up chicks and romance?